Welcome everyone to the most intimate, low-key, amazing Q&A signing ever.
Oh my god, oh no, I was just about to get covered.
There we need to give you a shout-out.
I am.
Girl, I swear. So I don't think we need to do, intros. You guys already know us.
You know who we are. But we can tell you a little bit about the tour, I guess. And how we started. So we are all friends through a industry blog called Publishing Crawl.
PublishingCrawl.com.
Which ties in with your alcoholic beverages question. And some of us have been friends for years and years and years. And I guess sometime around end of last summer, we thought Kat got the idea of doing a pub crawl tour.
She wanted to road trip with her friends.
And then we thought, that would be really cool to do a group tour because we're different. I mean, you guys are with Hartford, but you're all at different, different teams.
We're all in different places around the country.
And I'm at Bloomsbury, and authors that are with different publishers never get to tour or do anything cool together unless they usually set it up themselves. So we thought we would start our own tour because we're of an age where we have no responsibilities.
No babies yet.
By responsibilities I mean babies. And I don't want to hog. Someone pass the mic.
I feel like I should feel a little. And now here I am. So we were trying to decide what we would do different with our tour because we didn't want it to see us going around city to city signing books. Nobody cares. So we decided. Nobody cares. And we thought, why don't we do something? Sarah and I had recently just gone to DragonCon in Atlanta.
It's the best convention.
The best sci-fi fantasy convention of all time. And we met, while we were in that area, we met a famous sci-fi writer, fantasy writer, Robin Hobb.
Who's his idol?
I'm a massive fangirl, and every time I see her, I start sobbing. I love you, I'm with you. She's super terrified of me. But anyway, she was kind enough to not run away and invite us to dinner.
We were strangers, absolute strangers to her. We met her at Comic-Con for all of 3 seconds in a signing line where Susan actually broke down crying. And then we saw her in the lobby of this hotel at this book festival on the weekend of DragonCon. Susan, it's Robin, Goosey Pie! And
which that's not even her real name. She has a pseudonym, but I'm still Robin!
So Susan jumped up and tackled her. And then Robin was like, hey, you guys are slightly creepy. But after your events today, can I take you to dinner? And we were stars, of course you can, Robin.
It's in anime, when there's that's exactly us.
So Robin took us to dinner that night and spent hours, literally hours, just answering our questions. We don't have kids yet, so she even answered stuff what's it like to be a writer and suddenly have kids, and how do you adjust to that? Because these are things that we are worried about and don't know anything about.
What's the industry like when you are still, you've been around for 30 years instead of just debuting? And she was saying it's always terrifying. No matter how long you've been doing it, there's always that fear that you won't sell another book. And just these conversations have really made us realize that we're all in together.
Well, and Robin said that a big part of the adult fantasy community is giving back. And we had been
out new writers.
Yeah, and we had been at Comic-Con and really seen that friendship and bond between these adult fantasy writers, and we didn't often see it in the YA community.
It's sad that I feel like there's a different world. We're younger and we're thrown money, to be honest. These deals can be very large in the YA world, and we don't claw our way up from nowhere. Well, we do. Some of them don't, and so there's this competitiveness that you don't see in the fantasy community where authors start small and work their way up. And so we really wanted to build that sense of community in the YA world and wanted to be able to give back.
And after that night, Susan and I actually went back to our hotel room and fell into our beds and cried happy tears. We're Robin is so amazing and generous, and we were so overwhelmed by we were nobody, and she is Robin Hobb, and she took us out to dinner, and we were just so moved by it.
Was that the night you guys called me?
Yeah, I called you in a freak out.
Yeah. So and that's sort of I think where the tour really came together, and then we looped. Like you guys called me almost crying, and then we looped Kat in like the following day because they called me saying, "Hey, I think we figured out what we should do to make this tour more than just signing. Like Robin took us out to dinner. You guys like brought me up to speed, and then said, what if in between all of our signings we actually tried to give to a younger audience the way that Robin gave to us? So we've decided, the four of us all together, as we continue chatting, let's try to do workshops, like free writing workshops. Like kids don't have to, they have to register, but they don't have to pay anything for this. Let's just sit down and talk about writing and craft and inspiration and where it comes from in the industry, because it can be very overwhelming. And I think none of us, we all started writing young, and none of us would be where we are if it hadn't been for those helpful mentors.
And we had a lot of people tell us that we could not get published, we shouldn't be writing the things we were writing. And so we wanted to be able to meet with kids and kind of tell them the opposite, because the people that did encourage us really had a big impact, and that's kind of, we decided we'd do workshops, and we made a vague outline of where we wanted to go, and this tour just slowly started coming together.
I feel like the vibe went really well. We did a workshop in Grand Mar, and we did one yesterday at the Mighty Writers, not too far away. And it's just really great. Sometimes you forget, when you are on the process, and you go back to booking 13, 14, and 12-year-olds, you just see how purely excited they are about starting a story, and how creative they are, and how utterly free they are without having to think about anything are people going to like this story? What kind of reviews am I going to get for this story? It doesn't matter. It's
pure unrivaled, just creativity.
And I hope it's inspirational for them. It's definitely inspirational for us. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that's our tour.
And tomorrow we're going down to Baltimore, and then from there we go to Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Michigan, and Chicago over the next week and a half. So we're road trip. Tomorrow the road trip starts. We're getting a rental car, and then the jams will start.
And then when we go home, I think we're all going to be in withdrawal.
If you don't hear from us for a month after this tour, it's because one, we're sad, but two, we're recovering physically, mentally, emotionally.
I've done the drive along Pennsylvania to Mississippi. Good luck.
It's terrible. Great.
It's a long state. And once you get to, it's a 6-hour-long state.
Yeah, we have one drive.
Some of the roads,
6 hours.
You feel like you're going to get killed on them. There's nothing.
Really getting
Going through the Appalachian Mountains is beautiful. Traveling through the Appalachian Mountains is absolutely beautiful, but it's a tedious drive.
Well, we'll entertain one another.
We'll be okay. My husband lives almost 7 hours from where I live, or my husband's parents. My husband lives 7 hours from me. It's so terrible. His parents live 7 hours from us, so we're never together. We do that drive quite often, and it's horrible, but I think I just inadvertently volunteered to drive that horrible stretch.
Just tweet constantly, and then if the tweet stops, then we'll send someone after.
Okay. Or if you just see one sheet get out that just says SOS. No. It's send help. Look on our tour schedule and figure out where we will be.
Find the satellite GPS on one of our phones.
Yeah.
The government can
call the police. Call the National Guard to save us.
Have all our pictures
except for me, that's not me.
Not Erin. It's just randomly.
Not sure how it happened. What? You'll be the one that's not found because they don't have the right photos.
Maybe it's Erin Bowman.
That's the one that's going to take your place.
She might be a woman. The tour, it's I'm not there. You're touring with someone else.
Erin died. You're not a replacement.
Mr. Ripley or whatever it's called.
Oh my god.
It'll just be her.
Oh my god.
One morning we go to Erin's room and find that lady.
Getting concerned for myself.
Anyway.
the thought of these adventures.
Slightly derailed. Sharing beds too. We'll wake up.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna be curious.
No, I'm not mummy next to you anymore. No, you're on the cot. You're on the cot now. Yeah.
These two are like just angry sleepers. They flail and drift in the bed. Like,
We've had her breaking point this morning. We've shared beds like forever. And her breaking point came this morning when like she was like, I'm done sleeping with you. You rolled on me in the night. You like what did I do?
She normally rolls on me and she always feels the covers and I put up with it. But last night it was like 6 times I woke up like
on the corner.
and like there's no covers. And then this morning when I woke up, the bed was shaking because she was snoring. And I was like, it's over.
Susan and I will hunk up, and you two can like Hunger Games style for the bed.
I get the bed because I'm the oldest, and I will literally kill you. I am the oldest. I'm older than her. You get baby rules. It's the oldest always gets the
Anyway.
I feel like this is better than the question and answer.
What happens? You put it together and it just becomes
We were on a panel together. You can tell us about our Latina panel.
We just completely derailed the panel that we're on. This is, like a very serious panel where they're like,
professional.
pitch your book in 6 words and talk about craft. And we're like, let's talk about hot guys on islands and like sexual
Let me
things.
talk about how I would enjoy one of my characters on an island.
That's what really came at it.
Oh, that's
And you guys did it again.
It's so great. Yep.
When the tour's over, you need a podcast or a TV show.
Really? Oh my God, we would just talk over each other nonstop.
It would be great.
It would be amazing.
Because I feel like we'd have to do it from the same location. Because I feel like if we were all on phones trying to do this separately, we would talk all over each other.
And there's no like video or whatever.
We should do shindigs with
One
people.
of the big Google Plus hangouts. You can
Or shindigs. Good idea.
Yeah, sorry. Like, do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, alcoholic beverages questions.
Writing questions.
What's our favorite alcoholic beverage?
What does that add that? Yeah.
I like wheat beers, like a light beer, or like a Lindemann Framboise. I enjoy that. Compelling and rich.
You're very luxurious.
But I'm more of like a beer drinker.
I like wine in the wintertime. I like a good Pinot Grigio, and then I would say I do. That's what I
Pinot Gris. That's
excuse me.
That's what they say on the Real Housewives.
Well, excuse me. That's like Sarah's correcting me already. I think there's Pinot Grigio and Pinot Gris.
Really? Yeah. One of them like a brief Ramona.
Yeah, I think it's
brief.
BRIS, right?
Well.
Yeah. See, I know what I like. Don't get up in my business.
Just wait. She's coming for you.
That's how you know she's the wrong person because she won't know the wine.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy like questions. And anyway, then I switched to beer in the summertime.
I like only drink one thing, kind of a joke amongst us, which is I only drink IPAs.
But I mean, at least you get paid. Sarah doesn't like them.
Yeah.
No, I like IPAs.
I would rather drink Keystone Light than drink an IPA.
Every time it's like,
Yeah. I have no beer
I
palate.
don't like beer. I don't like when hard liquor mixed with things.
This is why you're on the cod.
Hard liquor stamp.
Hard liquor? What's hard liquor? Tell me what kind of hard
Like
liquor.
rum and Coke or like gin and tonic or like things mixed together.
But like, okay, if you like were able to have one drink before someone killed you, like what would it be?
Took a turn for the worse.
I don't know.
Or Erin's doppelganger kills you.
When she starts pouring that drink, I get worried.
I know.
How would you know?
I don't tell you now.
Tell me.
It'll be laced with some sort of poison.
Yeah, I know.
No, you
Never
need to
drink
know
it
again.
again. I'm like, oh my god, this is like my execution drink now.
Just like we tweeted.
But just in case
She
it gets
doesn't
bait
know.
for you,
Fine,
you could just run away.
You made a deal with my agent. You have to keep me safe.
It was the opposite. Your agent said,
Yeah.
My agent probably was like,
at the Harper Collins party, her agent was literally like, here's the messing cat up and making her get into trouble.
from college a few weeks ago.
Oh,
Yeah. And so she somehow managed to write these books, revise these books, even graduate from a very good school, and so she's clearly on the verge of collapse.
Well, that's the hard liquor.
That's why. And her agent was like, make her have some fun.
Okay, what I would say is go to Max. It's Max. Where's Max Brenner's? It's
the chocolate place?
The chocolate place. I just went there yesterday with all my stage combat people.
Isn't it? I think there's one in New York too.
I think there's
one of everything in New York.
Max Brenner's, they actually have a drink that tastes like chocolate. Like, the food there is delicious, and it's like you should go there after this. Watch out!
Probably when
There's alcoholic drinks. There's definitely alcoholic drinks because I had one yesterday. It was a peach lemonade.
And what type of alcohol would you like in the show in my daughter's? I like rum. I like rum.
It's a cat thing.
No, I mean like the reason why I can't drink certain things is because of my college years. But you guys hear that here. Yeah, you did not hear that, but we've made that.
Questions that aren't about alcohol.
We're age now, and you guys aren't like little, tea boppers. Yeah, we're not ruining your life or corrupting you. Right. Maybe.
Only for your books.
There you go. I got distracted by the song. I love this song.
I don't even.
Karaoke hour.
It's Can't Buy Me Love by the Beatles.
She's just like Billy, right? This is like Billy, like redhead Billy.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like Billy would have dropped the F bomb 10 times by now.
Oh, well, it's because you don't.
She's probably trying to censor herself.
I do censor myself when I meet new people. I swear like a sailor.
I could realize. I could see what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm going on a travel trip.
3 weeks in Europe.
After the tour,
Where?
I'm going to Germany and Italy.
Do you sleep ever?
No.
Okay.
You just beat people up while they're sleeping.
I'm walking into her bathroom tonight. I love this feeling. It's like Richmond. You guys watch the IT Crowd? Or the IT Crowd?
No, it's a meeting too.
Yeah, if you ever watch it as a character.
I'm catching up on Game of Thrones right now, so I don't.
I like that, Cozy. I like that.
What? Oh.
We're not
No,
watching Game of Thrones. I just reached my limit, like in terms of like. Yeah, and like the way like women are portrayed, it was just like it got a lot of gratuitous. It got to me. No, and the second season got to me where it was just like always women completely disrobing, and the guys were like clothed, and like I just. Like I don't mind the graphic content because I watched Spartacus and I actually enjoyed it, but it was because like there was equal.
That one had a lot of problems involved. Normally there's
so much.
In the books, there's actually a lot of really kick-ass like feminist characters.
Yeah.
The queen is like a total badass, and then there's like a female knight, and she's totally awful.
He's like, don't spoil me. Yeah, but I just like I couldn't deal with like that, and I don't know. It bothered me. It bothered me like enough.
There was like a
It'll get better. I promise.
where they did a brothel. Like literally when I watched that scene, I don't know if you've seen it, but they did a brothel and there's a lot of gratuitous like nudity. And then literally when I saw it, literally when I saw it, I'm like, somebody in the producer room was like, there's not enough naked women in the season. Let's fix that. 3 at once.
Oh my God.
Literally.
I know
So we gotta meet our quota. Yeah. Here's that quota for the season.
They're just trying to save on wardrobe.
That's
I
don't need another design out there. 3 more seconds to dragon.
$6 billion per episode.
Drag.
Yep. It's a good theory. Any other questions? Not that we've like had.
Yeah.
Here's a writing question.
Okay.
All right, a writing question. With fantasy type things and world building, what comes first and how do you put them together? I always like knowing how people do that because I like fantasy.
Like what comes first in terms of like world building or like world?
Well, because like with me,
I
I feel like I'm having trouble writing the story until I have my world set. So I'm wondering how it is for everyone differently and how you go about building your world and juggling the two.
I start with characters usually, and then like the more I ask myself about them, the characters are products of their world, and like I'll usually like get as much information as I can. Like sometimes like stories will just like hit, and I'll write them like pretty quickly than others I've had in my head for years that I've just been like, you know, building and adding to. I kind of let the characters guide me, like, you know, like everything, like, you know, like what they believe in, like religion-wise, what kind of food they eat, like the clothes they wear, because like that's all a product, you know, just like the material of their clothes, you know, like where does that come from, like who makes it, like what like geography is a result of that.
I think I sort of build the world as I write.
Yeah.
You know, they wind up in a new place and I discover it as the character discovers it. I feel like it's very easy to fall into this. I can't write the book until I build the world.
Yeah.
And you know, it's fun to build a world, I think. It's really fun, but it's easy to fall into that. Well, I'll write it next week after I figure out where every city and capital is located, and then eventually you don't ever write the book.
For me, I feel like a lot of the things, like especially for like fantasy, and I have a weather story I said in a very sort of blue space. I always started asking like where does the food come from? Where does the water come from? And because I feel like a lot of times I forget, and then I have this closed city. I'm like, wait, what are they eating? And then like kind of what they believe. Like I feel like belief, not even like they go specifically like religion, although that can be really interesting, but just like who do they believe has the power? Who has the power? How's that power distributed? Like who's the workforce? Who's like the sort of higher social class? I do feel like I do start with kind of stand outward.
And like touching on what Sue said, like all the fun is like coming up with stuff like in like the moment. Like I'm writing book 3 right now, and like I kind of like built the mythology of like this kingdom where it takes place like as I wrote it. Like I would need, you know, some story or myth, and then I would kind of like sit there and listen to music and like kind of just like write down like random words and things until, you know, like it like something like came, and like it was just like awesome to invent stuff on the fly. And then sometimes just like those things I invented in the spur of the moment, it completely changed like just my vision of the kingdom and like the history and then like what would happen next. Like it's just like giving yourself like the luxury of like discovering stuff and not stressing, you know, every little detail that you haven't figured it out yet. And then like during revisions, you can always go, like, I mean, like right now, like I definitely have to go back and like layer in things and take stuff out and add stuff in. And then like these ones will get the book and be like, that is the stupidest world I've ever seen.
We never say stupid. We never say stupid.
So this could use some improvement.
But yeah, I mean, I have well. I was gonna say mine. It's pretty much, I'm just gonna repeat these guys, but it's the same sort of thing, especially with Taken. Gray, the protagonist, is who came to me first, the character, and he was afraid of his 18th birthday, which did not make sense to me because that's sort of a really nice milestone in our world. So it was a combination. I wrote the first chapter or 2 sort of in a frenzy, but the question of asking why are you afraid of your 18th birthday, the more I asked why, and we found this out in workshops, that for me a lot of my world building happens when I ask how did I actually get to this point. So I do a lot of thinking about the backstory, and not all of it ends up on the page. But it was a lot of me asking questions, which is what Gray was after in the book too, so it was through him that the world sort of built and got bigger and bigger as he
kind of what's going on that, like the stuff that doesn't make it onto the page. Like I think we all kind of know what's happening in the world, like at like that exact time.
Yeah, like characters aren't on the page, but I know what they're doing.
Yeah, and like maybe those things will like never like impact the characters, or maybe it'll come back like in later books. So like you know, just be like one random little like throwaway sentence.
I mean, do you guys all have like world building Bibles or like?
Oh, I do. I have like notebooks that are just like full of notes that are in no way organized.
Like my agent actually suggested to me like a long time ago, and it's nice because like when you have a lot of characters, and I can be like, sometimes I mention a first name once, but then they go by the last name, and then book 2 I can give them the first name again. And I have like
character Bibles and place Bibles. I think like where like I what happens to me, I think especially with writing a trilogy, at least for me, like things that happen halfway through book 1, like if someone ends up getting injured and then they have a scar or something, I'll add that and say when it happened within the series of the trilogy. If I don't do this, I make mistakes in my own book.
I just when I'm writing like you, I wish I could be that way, but it's not how I might.
Well, I will say I only do this like I will write I wrote all of Taken, I revised it to death, and it was like when I was waiting for Harper to do some of the packaging and before I started writing book 2, that's when I made all of those Bible documents for book 1.
Do you keep everything in your head for the most part?
I have a lot in my head that isn't in those. It's more like physical and names and
I'll
stuff.
write like ideas or like random lines or just like plot points down, but then like most of like you know, like what color, like what eye color it is, like someone has, or like, you know, like what, like a random detail in it.
And I go back to college.
Yeah, I mean, like I'll like go into a document and hit like, you know,
If I'm typing like on the flow and I'm like, I need to verify that, it gets 3 asterisks. For gray eyes,
I literally
and then what do you have to do? Go grab the book
Then
later?
when I'm done,
I'll do a search for all asterisks and fix those.
Okay. See, and I don't know if any of you guys know the writing program Scrivener. Has anyone heard of that? So that's what I write with, and the reason I like my character Bibles is because I just have a folder within there, so that I can always add to it and go and see it, and I never have to open anything else.
Try that. I'm always like, I'll do it. I'll be organized on this track, and then like 2 chapters, and I forget to do it.
This is what we've kept saying at workshops. This is proof that no one's way is right or wrong. Like whatever works for you.
I can't draft in Scrivener. I have to draft in Pages, which is like Word for Mac, and then I edit in Scrivener, and then I copy it back. Like I talk to people, they're like, "You're insane," but this is the only way it works for me.
Well, everyone has their own
way.
hand, right? I draft on a computer, print a lot, and revise entirely by hand.
I don't do that.
I pretty much
like the trees.
Oh, I recycle it. When we lived in Germany, we used it for kindling. So we heated our house with fire. So Germans still do that. It's normal, okay?
We like to get fire.
So you word books in Germany.
Oh, no.
That's going to go on the internet forever.
My own books. I burn my own pages and kindling.
So we all have different processes though, and whatever works.
It's not a plural of process. Processes.
I think processes is what you're actually processing stuff, right?
I don't know.
Scientific process.
What is it? What's like,
Grammar is not our forte.
No.
That's what complicated answer for.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you for correcting our stupidity.
That was a good question though.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we went to I don't know if there's any other things.
Other questions?
I just find it all really interesting because what you guys do for world building is what actors do for character building. And so it's so interesting that it's just really interesting, and why I love reading books and I love writers, because you think similarly to the way actors think. And I find that so interesting.
And I think, like, I've thought about it too, because a lot of us, when we write, we method act, you know, we fall into that character and we write it as that person, that
That's the only way to do it. I keep a mirror, like a giant mirror, in front of my desk, like just at the edge of my desk, and the mirror is like here, so, and my computer's here, so when I'm like, you're like writing a scene or like brainstorming, like as I'm listening to the music, I'll act it out in the mirror, like tears and like, you know, screaming and all that, just so I can like I get like super emotional. Like I can't write in public because I get so super emotionally invested in what I'm writing. I actually for Crown of Midnight, starting around like page 100 through the end, I stopped the entire time I wrote it, and like I like had like migraines every day because I would cry myself into a frenzy. Like I get like so like, and it's crazy. Like I can't write when my husband comes home because I get so invested in it that like if he ever found me like in one of my states, he would just be like, I don't know who you are, and I'm walking right back out the door and never coming back. He would actually probably just be like, you're weird. I watch like TV. Like he's like, my husband is very normal and like not at all like the super freak. I think we're like, just 3 of us are married to pretty like normal men who tolerate our like craziness, super craziness.
We don't quite get it.
Yeah, that's why we have each other.
I sometimes write in public, but I do catch myself like, even though there's no mirror, like I'm like smiling or like
I feel like raw.
like making the face of the characters.
That's what you're from.
And then I'm like, gosh, if anyone's watching me, I probably look like an absolute crazy person.
I'll get up and like if there's like a ball, I'll like walk to like the music I'm
I don't think
listening
any
to.
of us are quite as animated as Sarah when we write.
Well, that's why I find it like really hard to like get on like social media and be like on the internet like when I'm drafting, because like I am like so like focused and I have to like get so involved in the world and what I'm doing that like everything else kind of just like is background for me, and like I like physically like do not have the energy to like then like get online.
It's a different side of your brain. You're in a different like drafting funnel.
Well, like with like book 2, I feel like I like just dropped off the face of the planet for a while because like it was like so hard to write. Then book 3 was like really like sad and dark, and like I think I told Susan this. I was like, I'm scared to start this book because I have to actually get myself into that like mental and physical place where like I am my character, and like I mean I wasn't like walking like through the street being like I'm Selena and I'm an assassin. I just was like I had to like reach that like energy level and stay with it, and like it was really hard to be like normal.
I started drafting like it's tough. So like I can't even draft knowing I only have like half an hour. I need to know like I have like 5 hours and nothing to do, and then nothing's gonna be like draft.
Why I don't know how women do it once they have like.
Yeah, kids all day. That's why we were like, Robin Hobb, give us your wisdom. We don't know how to deal with like babies.
And she was like, you will
adopt your process.
Yeah. We're crazy, but we're cool. Cool birds.
Pretty starstruck, just saying. You definitely seem like the people that I'm friends with who actually are crazy, so it's okay. I'm a theater major. We scare everybody whenever we hang out together because we're so dramatic, and I'm a very physical actor, and so whenever I get excited about something or do something, I use my entire body. When I sneeze, I actually use my entire body. So it's like
with your toes and like your fingertips.
one day of an acting class in the last semester, and then I dropped it, but like the first day was like scary. I was frightened.
Were you overwhelmed?
Yeah, like they made us do weird things, like close our
kind of weird
we had to close our eyes and like hold each other and like smell each other and find each other by like touch and smell from ourselves.
Okay, that's a little weird.
What sort of acting class?
I don't know. It was like the beginning.
I feel a lot of weird acting classes, and that's weird.
Yeah, that was
like smelling each other. I'm sorry, nobody wants to smell each other. That's
feel each other, and it was like I was like, okay.
Feeling is a movement class. That's strange, and it's once you become comfortable with people over a course of a week.
Day one.
That's silly. That's a silly acting class.
I was scared.
That's completely understandable because like that's uncomfortable for someone new to acting. I wouldn't care if I did it, but I've been doing acting since I was 14, so.
We have to think someone was
oh yeah, that was
crazy
good.
class called what?
Oh my God. Let me tell you a story that just happened. A couple days ago. Okay, so we were in Penn Station a couple days ago going from New York to Philly. And so I have to use the facilities, and I am wearing these like yoga pants that have been like rolled up because like I didn't want them dragging on the dirty bathroom floor, and this like oversized sweatshirt that belongs to my husband. Like it is like, you know, like XXXXXL.
Meanwhile, it's like 85 degrees.
And it's 85 degrees, and like I thought I would be cold on the train, so I didn't want to like have to carry it and then put it on. So I'm wearing this sweatshirt that is legit down to like my knees.
It's early, not like done up.
It's early, like my hair, like I didn't wash my hair, so it's like in this like mess, and like I have these like super sunglasses like on my head, like that are kind of like sketchy and 90s-ish. So I like stagger into the bathroom, and like I'm like going like the bathroom is kind of like the stalls go down one wall, and then there's like a back wall that's like kind of hidden, and then there's like another wall like that. So it's like a giant U. Giant U. And so I go down like the front stall, like the row, and I'm like looking to see like is there anyone in there? Like I don't want to like be like pushing on the doors and like peeking underneath. And then I kind of just hit like the back wall, and I turn down the corner, and then there's like no one, like none of the stalls are free, so I go back down, and then like right in the back wall, like where no one can really see, this like crazy homeless lady like pops out, and she's like, "Don't let me catch you in front of my door again," like in my face, and I like burst out laughing. I'm like, what? I was like, oh. And then like I'm like, oh my God, like she's gonna like actually like beat me because she thinks I'm gonna like invade her little house. She was homeless. She was living in the stall, and so like I'm like, oh God. So I just kind of like dive into like the nearest open stall, which is actually like kind of like right across from hers with the way it is, and so I could see, you know, those mirrors that they have so you can see like who's around the corner. So I'm like hiding like in the stall, like scared to even sit on the toilet because I think she's gonna like start like banging on the walls. And I can like see her in the mirror like into her stall basically, where she like has her like belongings like wrapped in plastic, and she's kind of like looking around, like making sure like no one's gonna like go into her stuff. Yeah, she was like a prairie dog. She was like the groundhog, like popping out of its hole and like looking around.
The best part was when you came out and realized.
Well, and then I get a text from them, because irony of all ironies, before I went to the bathroom, what did I say to you guys? I was like, something about like hoping nobody gets you in the bathroom. Yeah, I was like, please, like, say a prayer that I don't get murdered. And then I get into the bathroom, and this crazy homeless lady is like up in my face. And so I'm sitting in the bathroom, and I'm like texting them. I'm like you said, like, did you get murdered yet?
She said, has anyone tried to show you crack?
Yeah, and I'm like, so I'm like sitting there texting, like watching the mirror, and I'm like a crazy lady just like yelled at me, and then like I finally like she like disappeared, and I like made like a run for it, and I go back out, and like these ones like realized. Yeah, well, first of all, they like I think Susan's like, should we go in and get her?
I was like, no, she's fine. Let's see how she does this.
So then I go out, and like we realize like a day later.
Yeah, it took us a while.
Because of the way I was dressed, she thought I was a homeless person, like trying to steal her turf. Like I was like
nice little setup.
She had a nice little house, and she thought like I was like this like crazy homeless lady in my oversized sweatshirt with my unwashed hair, like in my like rolled up like pants, like just like trying to invade her territory.
But for a while we were just laughing at like, why is she saying like, don't let me catch you in front of my door?
Don't let me catch you in front of my door.
Like, and then it clicked like a day later, like, oh, she thought Sarah was homeless and wanted her home.
Oh, wow.
So that's our New York adventures.
Wow. Yay, that was our big adventure in New York.
How did we get to the creepy basement?
Yeah, I am crazy. So I like apparently exude like homeless. The derelict. That was my style. Okay.
It's heard that there's a mirror in the bathroom. So checking out their stuff.
Weirded out by that. I couldn't see the toilet. Like she had like the handicap stall, so I couldn't see like the toilet, but I could see enough. So she was like tucked in there. That was like a huge bag. It was like
in the penthouse.
No, she wasn't going to give that up for nobody. Yeah, don't let me catch you in front of my door again. It wasn't like stall. It was like front door.
That never happened to me there.
Well, the best part was before this happened, I was like, no, Sarah, I used to like take the 6 p.m. train out of Penn all the time, and that bathroom is actually okay. I was like, it's fine. If you go to that one, like, it's pretty clean. I've never had a problem in there. And it was clean, you said, like, for like being in Penn Station.
Yeah, for being a crack house, it was actually...
But that was my last, and that's why I was like, you'll be fine. And she goes, and I'm like, has anyone told you to crack yet? And then she's like, oh my God, don't save me.
For a while, I thought she was going to try and break down, like, the walls of my stall, so I was going to have to, like, crawl on the floor of this horrific bathroom, like, underneath the other stalls, to, like, with, like, people there, like, excuse me, I'm being, like, hunted by a crazy homeless.
I mean, how did you guys react when you got that text?
I was like, they didn't come to my rescue.
I was laughing hysterically.
I was going to come rescue you, but
no, because you were like,
that's why that happened. How do you think that happened?
That Sarah can cry wolf very well. She's very good at being like,
I'm good at hyperbole.
Oh, so it's kind of like she's just.
I laughed hysterically, and I was like, she's safe in a stall right now. We'll see if she says, I'll help you, then we'll go help her. I was like, just give it a couple minutes. She's going to find her way out. She's a big girl.
And then I wasn't going to give you guys the satisfaction of rescuing me.
See? Sarah doesn't need any knight in shining armor to rescue her.
Just like satisfaction of finding you alive. Actually, like, sacrifice yourself in the bathroom to make you feel bad about not.
I would rather die than give them that smug satisfaction. Wow.
Don't let her doppelganger find out.
So you can told them about
I look so nice and friendly.
You have no idea of the killer working on your eyes.
There is a little bit of evil work in your eyes. We're going to meet her one day.
If we see her, we're just going to run. If we're just going to turn and run, and it's
the top of your cover?
Huh?
It's true. Her hair really does match the top of her cover.
Oh, yeah.
I want to find out who it is. I'm really curious. I will.
I wonder if it's Erin Bow.
It's not. I know what she looks like. That's not Erin Bow.
You Google-ized her already?
No, because Erin Bow and I get mixed up on Twitter quite often. Like, someone will tweet her.
Is that the author of Plain Kate?
Yeah.
You're. That's what I know.
I see.
Oh, that is.
She's a little bit older, and by a little bit I mean I think like 20 years older.
Years older.
Anyway,
any other questions?
I have a really silly one.
okay.
Are any of you guys fans of Doctor Who?
I've seen episodes here and there. I know enough to understand the lingo.
Oh my god.
Are you doing like a Google image search for me, see if I understood? Thank you.
But yes, waiting for November.
Oh my god.
I just heard that too.
You know what? I am. My favorite Doctor was David Tennant, so.
I don't have a favorite. So we always had one.
He was like my first one, and it's like David Tennant. Have you seen the video of Doctor Who on the Catherine Tate show with Catherine Tate being a student called Laura Cooper?
Is this wait, what's David Tennant? Is it the one where they do like My Mistress?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've seen that one.
This is a mystery person. It really is.
Okay, I was just curious because I feel like you guys, if you really watched it, you would love
It's not everybody's show. I haven't even tried it. But it's hard because like I started with Rose, and I feel like if I hadn't been like super bored, I wouldn't have kept watching. And then like it's really long.
It definitely grows on you.
I tried, but I have enough.
I tried to watch it the first time, and I stopped watching it like the first episode, like halfway through, and then I started watching it again, and I got so addicted.
No, what does narming mean? I use it, it's full of narm. Like narm?
No, like Lucy becomes more likable.
It's slightly cheap. It's like old sci-fi. Old sci-fi was like aliens and everything. Well, it's, I don't know. It's full of narm. Yes, I watch a lot of sci-fi. I'm not sci-fi, but
Yeah.
Sorry.
The other person, sorry guys, we were hoping not for the next one. We thought maybe more people would show.
It's okay. Susan.
It really puts all the question asking on you guys.
I know.
It makes it harder for you.
We were shopped ago. Kind of the first. Yeah, we had very different crowds. The first one was in Bryn Mawr, and it was definitely like a more like I want to say privileged crowd. You know, the kids brought MacBooks that were their personal laptops.
Like 12 years old.
And they were 12, 13 years old. And then the second workshop was at a place called Mighty Writers, where I think it's a more like inner city type of place. And
That place is awesome.
that place was incredible. We brought like all our free books that we got at BEA, like mountains of books. We saved them and hauled them from New York to give to the kids at Mighty Writers, and seeing their faces light up. It was awesome.
It's like a non-profit writing center. And kids have to, I think, apply to do the after-school programs there. So
and so that was really special.
We were really excited about.
It
was always fun to see.
I mean,
both were successful.
Both were good. You know, at the first one, like, there were some girls that were kind of like Googling there.
Weird, and we didn't understand why they would register if they were just going to come and write each other,
but then like at the next one, like the Mighty Writers, like all the kids were like pretty like into it and like super enthused. So we left that like last night feeling like totally pumped and like really like, you know, makes me feel like really like grateful and like, you know, appreciative. And it's like the event last night was really kind of like why we did this tour. Cause I don't know, like there was like a big author breakfast at BEA where Rick Riordan, the author of Percy Jackson, was speaking. So they had like free shirts for everyone in attendance.
Oh my God, great.
Yeah, I mean he was awesome when he spoke. And Veronica was like everyone was wonderful. But it was actually the woman, the author of the Magic Treehouse series.
She made us cry.
I was crying when she spoke, but she was mentioning how I think it was like an inner city, like there's like one book for every 250 kids, something like that, and that like kind of really like impacted me. So I took every copy of Divergent that was on the table, plus like all the T-shirts, and so I got like 2 Percy Jackson T-shirts. And last night I asked the kids if there were any Percy Jackson fans, and one was like, ooh. like so excited, and like giving him the T-shirt, like he was so pumped that like I almost like burst into. I like walked away and was like, do not cry, because it was
really great.
yeah. So I'm hoping that like the next few workshops just kind of more like that, but we have no idea what to expect for the next one. So I think it's going to be different.
Everyone's on our toes. Each time we walk in, we're like, what age range are we going to hit?
Because we've gotten a mix of like kids, like at both workshops so far, we've had kids as young as like 11 or 12. There's some kids that are like 18?
Yeah, it's been a big
so just like catering to like, like all of those ages. It's been interesting. Yeah.
It's been good though. We've done some writing exercises.
What's the format of the workshop? Like, do you read their work before you get there?
No, so we basically just like introduce ourselves, talk about how we got started writing as teens, and then we talk about everything from inspiration to.
If you want to have a conversation, if we have a story, guys, we write some stuff, we ask them if they want to read it out loud. We don't actually do like speaking of their work there. And we talk about
more like we do have writing exercises, and then we read our own and critique each other to sort of show them how that works. And then if they want to read, they can.
We've also talked a little bit about like some of the roadblocks they might hit, like naysayers or like people who don't think it's the right direction for them, or you need to get a real job, which we've talked about how some of us all did have a real job, but we were always pursuing a real job. I mean, we had a job that wasn't writing while we were pursuing writing. And then we talk a little bit, it depends on the crowd. Sometimes we'll talk about publication, and I think like the last half hour was just open Q&A on like craft, publishing, anything.
A lot of people, kids want to know, where the covers come from, where the little blurbs come from.
We've gotten the blurb question a bunch, right?
Yeah. No, one kid last night did not believe us. We laughed. We're like, ha ha ha, millionaires. And he was like, really? Yeah. You're rich, right?
I want to know, like, what's it like to be famous now? We're like, people recognize you on the street?
We're like, no. No. But it was cute.
Yeah, very horrible.
Yeah. And we do have, we typed up a much more formal sort of, workshop lessons, one on world building, on plot, on characters, an overview of publishing, and those are all, more of a standard workshop.
75-page lecture packet that gets in before the lessons of the workshop, because you don't have time to, teach them voice.
Or dialogue, or pacing.
We made that, and then if they have questions about it, they can ask in the workshop or email us.
So they have all those digital packets, and I think certain themes in those packets came up when we were doing exercises, like the writing things, and that's when we touched on them. But gosh, you could you just 2 hours
go by so fast.
Yeah. Back off that titling. Titles just strike you, or do you have to rack your brain over it?
Titles, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
phone calls and my titles. It used to be called hybrid, or just two soul, one body, hybrid. Yeah.
Okay.
And they didn't really like that.
Do you wish that you had kept hybrid?
I never super liked hybrid. A lot of people did. My agent was a big fan of it. I feel like a lot of people were a big fan of it. I never particularly liked hybrid at all.
So I kept it in the series title.
Yeah, that was my agent. I felt like I really liked.
I really like. I mean, I think your new title's beautiful, but I just thought it kind of conveyed the more. I don't know, the world more than what's
a lot of people do think it's contemporary.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a contemporary feel to it, so I actually feel like people who enjoy contemporary will enjoy the book because other than the one big thing, they still live in a very normal, modern world. So yeah.
I think usually retitling too come from marketing and sales teams thinking about how the consumer will think when they see that title, and I do think while I love hybrid, it sounds much more intense sci-fi.
That was the thing. I think sci-fi wasn't big then. They didn't want it to be fun sci-fi. Yeah. Now sci-fi is big.
And yours has sci-fi elements, but it still is, like you said, people who like contemporaries will probably really love your book because it has, I think, a little bit more overlap. So I think we all got retitles.
Yeah, not one of us sold our books to the parents. And that's, I knew that, so I just had a placeholder title when I was writing my book, and I knew, don't get attached.
They change quite often.
And I've heard people, say you really need a good title when you're querying your book, but I think that's not
I think you need a good pitch.
You need a good, because your title will very likely change. Yeah.
Did yours change? Yeah. Did yours change?
No, actually.
See an example.
But then the second book, my editor wanted something funnier than Quantum Coin, because Fair Coin is sort of a play on words. For the life of me, I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't come up with one, so just stayed with it. And I felt defeated by it. I was like, I should be able to.
The titling is so hard, though. Like, you wouldn't think, like, this book, one word, this took forever. I think we brainstormed for, like, 3 months.
And sometimes things that do not make sense. Like, my book was originally called Queen of Glass. Started out as a Cinderella retelling, which it is not anymore. And so, I think, like, I forget how long after we signed the book deal, they wanted a title that was more gender neutral because they wanted to attract a male audience as well. So they just immediately pitched me Throne of Glass, which I was like, all right, that sounds badass. Like, sure, I'll do Throne of Glass. And like, it's similar enough to Queen of Glass that like fans from my online days could still like see the book in it. And then they gave me this cover, which is not gender neutral at all. Anyway,
I'm not gonna lie, I like this cover better.
So when they finally listened to fans who have been very vocal about their preference for the UK cover, they decided to repackage the paperback with the UK cover. And I am so happy, even though this is like a girl and she's got like her fancy clothes, like I think it's a little more.
She looks still more gender.
It looks like a Devil May Cry kind of thing.
Yeah,
really cool.
she looks like she could like slice you up and make you into a salad. And then eat it.
There's a common misconception that we control of our covers and we really don't. It varies by publisher, but I know most people don't have much say in what happens
unless you're
on
huge.
their cover. Unless you're,
But even then, like we're not gonna name names, but I've heard like a big authors getting absolutely no say in their covers, even like down the line.
It's a matter of marketing at the end of the day. You just trust them to know that more than you.
Yeah, and that's the way I think titling plays into that too. Like we tossed around some of the things, like the heist was a title we threw around for a while of mine, but it sounds like a bank robbery. A bank robbery, and this, and even with covers too, there were things with Taken that looked too like alien sci-fi abduction. So like all of these things play into like how your consumer or the reader, when they look at it on a shelf,
and who they think your target audience is. Like I would never have thought a girl in a dress was my target audience. That's what they thought would sell best, so they go through the cover.
Because like even like yesterday when we had like all these books and such days that shoes whatever caught their eye, there was one cover which honestly I wasn't a big fan of, and I'd never been a fan. I don't know what it was, but like this boy, 12-year boy, immediately his eye went to that cover. I immediately grabbed it and was like, I want this one. So, and that was
and then I would say too, a 19-year-old boy picked up one with a girl in a dress, and I would have never said a boy would pick up that cover, but he did. There you go. So,
and this is why ultimately they do the covers, because they know the markets and who they're targeting, and they're the experts at designing and reaching that audience. So
write more books.
It's hard to sort of relinquish control because it's your baby and you care a lot about the face of it and how it's packaged, but kind of out of our hands.
I think all of your cups turned out really beautiful.
Yeah.
They go well together. I like the way they look on the show.
I know.
Except for Erin's
Well, we're talking about covers, not our faces. Thanks, Steve. It's going to become like a joke of the tour, the doppelganger
No,
Erin.
like every place you show up, somebody else will be replaced. Like next time.
Or if that is me in every place we go, because maybe Jen sent the wrong picture to everyone, it'd be quite
Can you imagine that?
You know what? I should follow up with her
We're going to have
after
an
tonight.
article in the Chicago sometimes coming out. They did an interview, and we better make sure that's the right photo.
Yeah, that would be a little embarrassing and frustrating.
Hey, Mom and Dad, look, it's not me.
Completely freaked out. Plastic surgery, face reconstruction.
That was going on
Marketing thought I would look better this way.
Marketing wanted me to be a redhead, so surprise.
Character to make habit book.
They're me.
Hello,
JK. Hello, but not really.
Yes.
You should change like your Twitter picture to that one.
I know.
Just change it. For a day.
That woman,
like, hey guys,
what are you doing? That's not you.
maybe you'll find out.
They'd be so creeped
I
out.
want to go on like our publicist's website and see if she's
It's probably one of their other authors.
It's remember we did a long time ago. It was we're right on our website. So that's a attached thing to do.
Yeah, but I think this is one for other authors, is what we're saying, and she attached the wrong picture when she emailed the BNN.
Here's one you probably get a lot. Have you had any interest in film or TV rights for your books yet?
That's actually something that I was wondering.
It's an interesting process because you usually have a film agent and agent responsible for selling the film rights.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that would be scary as well because you have to find the perfect person to play.
But a lot of
the
it
role
is
as well.
hype. So if your book is super hype or it's a bestseller list or has a lot of money put into it, then these studios will buy up the rights.
Yeah, it's not really the characters that come first. That's like the cast, that's the way that
It's like the worst time to find it. I don't know why.
Buy up rights.
No, it's good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys have a good night.
Thank you too.
Yeah.
And they never do anything with it. A lot of studios buy the rights and then never do anything with it.
It's like 90% of all.
90%.
They say unless you're on the red carpet, as the book's movie premiere,
It's even there.
not gonna. It might not happen.
So yeah, all of us have agents, and all of us know about the market and what's big. And
You only explodes in publishing in Hollywood, right?
I don't like Hollywood, so it's okay.
I don't know what time is it. 6:43. Any other questions?
we have like 17 minutes left. So it's okay.
Not that you're counting or anything.
Well, I just did the math. 6:43.
I've been messing up math left and right.
Yeah, you were just playing really ridiculous earlier.
I like messed up my age for something.
What did you say?
I said I was 11 at the perfect time. I'm 9.
Oh, I think you meant like someone asked how old you were, and you're like, I'm 11.
No, remember we were listening to TLC?
Yeah,
when I was 11.
Yeah, that was
She was like, no, you can't do math. You were 9.
I can't do math. I write, and I'm gonna be 25 forever. So. I'm 25.
What do you mean? You are 25.
Yeah, I am 25.
But like 30 years later, instead of 25.
Yeah, I am 25 right now. I was born in 1986, and I'm 25 years
It's like a
old.
Lucille Wink.
Sorry, we have like
Arrested Development.
I actually have a question. How do you keep going when someone is continuously putting you down? Because I've had that experience so many times as an actor.
Feeling criticism and
Yeah, I was actually in the conservatory program and was cut from the program because I had a teacher tell me they weren't sure I was cut out to be an actor. So having stories like you guys, and I mean,
like, I know it's horrible, but I feel like any creative endeavor is going to have a lot of people feel you stuck. Can't do it, and you're not doing it well.
doing it.
And even once you have done it, like even like you get the book deal and your book comes out, there's like there's a new kind of person that is
Now you have readers telling you that you
Curtis or reader.
Oh, Curtis.
Somebody had a hilarious idea that all authors should take the worst lines from the Curtis review and put it on a t-shirt and wear it around. I think hers was like, main character tries too much. Like, I just want that in a t-shirt, you know?
Good idea.
That's like, have you seen like the Curtis like death metal song? Some guy.
Magazine that does trade reviews, meaning it's
And like the banner of their website says the world's toughest book critic.
and then trademark.
But there's like this great like video on YouTube. What was it? It was like some female author wrote a YA book and got trashed by Curtis, and so her friend did this like death metal
He was in a death metal band, so he
song
like
version
literally
from
read her review, but sang it like death metal, and it was hilarious because it fit so well. The way they review books is so amazing. I had a friend where they were like, "This book is chum." Literally, what they called it, and you're just like.
So don't pay attention to them at all.
You just don't pay attention. And I mean, you don't listen to readers. It can be rough, but I think like readers can reject you even harsher than anyone, and that's where just, I think all of us have sort of reached the point where
not all readers, but like some.
No, and I think it can sometimes be hard to hear it from readers because like we all started as readers, and so I still feel like I'm a reader first and an author second.
Yeah, exactly.
So like hearing it from like people that felt like our people at times were not like
you feel like rejected by your friend almost.
Yeah, and it's something that you have to like learn to deal with because it's like it never stops.
Always stinks.
It always
just
stops looking.
The recovery time gets shorter and shorter every time it happens.
I mean, mostly it's a problem, I feel like. It's like all creative people have that like, not like low self-confidence, but we're like sensitive. And like, you're sensitive and not what makes you an artist, but it is what makes it hard to be an artist, you know?
And you're also creating to share, so the end goal is to like to put it out there and share it. And then when people reject it, that's like...
What really helps me is to, one, know that your worth as a person and whatever you create are totally two different things. And also that art is so opinionistic. Like, it's such an opinion, and everybody obviously is to their own opinions. And there are movies that, I try to think about other things, like books that personal views. So, like, there are movies that I hate, other people love, and I don't hate people who love that movie, and just because I like that movie and someone else doesn't mean we can be friends or anything like that. So, like, people's artistic opinions are just totally separate from who they are as a person, who you are as a person. That kind of helps me.
And also, remember, people can be mean. Just for the sake of being mean.
Like, you had
sometimes it's good to just, like, cut them some slack. Like, man, they probably had a bad day. They're just taking it out on me. My book.
And sometimes people are just flat out mean. In high school, I took a creative writing elective in my senior year, and I submitted the first chapter of like this fantasy thing I was working on at the time. And my high school teacher spent the entire 45 minutes ranting about how much she hated fantasy, how fantasy wasn't real, how Philip Pullman's like Golden Compass, like I think those books were really big. I think the Amber Spyglass at that
time they were.
Like that was not like that wasn't real literature. I think I actually did a blog post on this at one point where I found my old live journal entries from like high school, and like found like a quote of like what I wrote when I came home at the end of that day, like so livid. I was like, I hope she is squashed to death by a box of fantasy books. So on my blog, it's like type in like I don't know like teachers
death by fantasy books.
I was so mad. But if I had like listened to this like horrible woman, like and I let her convince me that like the things I loved to write were not valid, then like I would not be where I am today. And like this was someone who was responsible for my education and like broadening my mind. I should have encouraged writing no matter what it was. And yet she acted, pardon my language, like a motherfucker. So like there's never.
And that's why sometimes
I've had teachers like that as well in acting.
And those type of rejections or mean people, it's almost like good that it happens because personally I don't think you want to be working with that type of person anyway. So it's good to just know, okay, I know what you think because you're wearing your thoughts right out there on your shirt, and I'm just going to move on to a better relationship or to other people. And sometimes it hurts, but it's like a blessing in disguise when someone is that vocal.
And it makes you like, I learned to like, cause I didn't stand up to her, I didn't like argue with her, but you learn to be passionate about the things you love, and fight those things you love. You can't really talk back to readers or reviewers, but you develop that that sense of all right, that person didn't like it, but I still have pride in my work and I still love my work no matter what they say.
Yeah. But it does take time to get good at that.
Yeah.
These three are better at it than me. It's fresh on the chopping block because this only came out in April, a month ago or so. You guys are almost at the year mark, so I'm still developing my process again.
Yeah, you learn to make a bubble. Like I think of it as like a steel bubble.
Even the good ones can mess with your head.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can go to your head, or sometimes it can mess with your head in a way that it's like, oh, they loved the way I had the ending. I need to make my ending similar in the next book.
Yeah. Or you think
I do that in my acting too.
And you can't listen to that, but you have to stick with what feels right here.
Or you think, oh, they love this project, like they're gonna rip me apart for the next one.
Yeah.
And that pressure, like just like hearing like praise can like make you like freak out.
The negative hurts and the praise like makes you be like, oh, I can't disappoint these people next time.
Praise actually I think gives you self-doubt.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Rejection gives you self-loathing. Praise self-doubt.
It just kind of all compiles all together.
It does. Yeah. It's part of being creative though. Then you just.
But then you like need to have like your tribe of people that you like lean on.
Yeah.
Like these ones, like if I'm having a bad day and like like things are not working out, or I just feel like the biggest loser hack in the world, and like just like talking with them, like either about like how I'm feeling or about something completely different. Like these guys are like my lifeline for everything.
It's good to have people who share the same art as you.
Yeah, and it took me a while to find them too. Like it took me years and years, my whole life to find them.
I think it's funny that you said the word hack, because I think that's like I feel that way sometimes. I think all people.
Mary Lou did a wonderful post on what was it called? Imposter
syndrome. Yeah.
Well, no matter how successful I think that it's especially true for a lot of women who, like, no matter how successful you are, you feel like whenever you are successful, it's by something outside your control. You were lucky, or somebody likes you, and that's nothing to do with it. Yeah, but every time you fail, it's suddenly like
Since I read Marie's post, I've actually been trying to own my accomplishments and the things that I've done. Like not in like an arrogant way, but just, like good. Not say, oh, it was like luck, or like that was just like a mishap. Like this was something that I worked hard for, and I shouldn't try and deflect that. And I think like that was a really when I read her post, I was just I was a little emotional at that post. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Marie.
Like too emotional, like legends, which is huge, by the way. And so she feels like a hack. We all do, no matter how small or how big you are. There's always that self-doubt and fear.
If you go on to the blogs of Holly Black and John Green this week, I was reading them this morning. They both had really interesting posts about why the Fault in Our Stars might have done that. It was really interesting. I was reading it this morning.
Yeah, I haven't read that.
Yeah. It was really interesting the way they thought about everything that went into it, and why it maybe did better than the other book.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking to, I can't remember which workshop we were talking to, how like we were talking about there's always an element of luck in everything, not just writing, but it's in life in general. And sometimes things come together, and sometimes things don't, and obviously if you work really hard at it, you have more chances of things coming together, but not every failure is just like I suck or whatever.
Because I suck and I'm a hack. Yep.
Any other questions?
Wasn't that like serious?
I like such a downer.
Sorry, guys. No, that was a great question. I hope it made you.
No, because it's something that everyone struggles with.
Honestly, I've dealt with a lot of rejection and just a lot of stuff for the past couple of years, and especially having followed your story since I was 15, it is an inspiration to see that you were able to do what you wanted to do, and that is what I want to do as an actor. I mean, not Hollywood, because Hollywood's insane, but being in theater.
It's even harder, because at least when we write a book, like, I can like hide when people are reading it, but like when you're acting, like you're out there, your face is all
what you were talking about before was trying to please people by doing the same thing. I studied in Russia at the Moscow Theater School last summer. And my teacher, I did something right, and he commented on it, and then we did the scene again, and the first thing he said was, you were trying to do the same thing, weren't you?
Yeah, because you liked it.
Because I do that. And it's hard to do that. It's hard.
It's like a dog when you give them a treat, and then they learn to sit.
My dog gets so excited when you give her a treat. If you tell her to sit, she'll like play dead or roll over and do something really complicated.
I mean, we have a writer friend who contributes to the blog with us who has like a very shocking and powerful end in her first book, and I know when I read Alice Bracken. When she I think we both read some early drafts of her second book, and she kept saying I'm worried the ending is not going to be as powerful enough again, and we were just like, Alex. Chillax. But we all do that. We're all guilty of that because so many people reacted so strongly to her ending in the first book that she's now worried how they're going to take the ending in her second book, which is amazing.
Yeah, she has nothing
to worry about, but we all do this to ourselves. It's like when you're praised, you just don't want to let people down next time, and when someone says it's not good enough, you're like, well, it's all my fault. Yeah. Like this vicious cycle.
You don't want to become a Night Shyamalan. So.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Now when you want to throw an avatar.
I didn't even watch that movie. I won't watch that movie.
We went at midnight, and it was silent. Because midnight's when everyone who really wanted to see it went, and we're just like,
watch.
Sacred for you.
Wait, okay.
When that came out,
I'm sorry. I missed what the TV show.
Avatar, Airbender.
Oh,
It was.
I heard the movie was terrible.
I won't watch it.
The audience just kept getting quieter and quieter and quieter because it was the first showing ever.
I know.
And we were like, what was
People in our group dressed up. It was
He was in that movie.
Okay, well, the stunts were good, so he was
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
the good part. Well, that's what I hear.
Yeah, he was doing the fighting.
All right.
I mean,
Okay.
fighting was
He was in like the
Fight Master Chin.
like just the rest of it was
Before you leave, I want. Probably I'm supposed to pay for them.
No, we'll find you. I'll pay on the way out. Yeah, so we have to wrap up in general, so if anyone wants to look, if they haven't done one already. But I think we do.
Yeah, we do the raffle.